I will show you how to turn the weight of your past into fertilizer for a new life in the next minutes. Remaining faithful to who you no longer are is the quietest way to die while still alive. The cycle of renewal demands your presence today, or your soul will remain suffocated. With over 40 years dedicated to listening to the soul and the arts that translate the invisible, I've learned that true freedom is only born when we stop carrying our own corpses. You might think it's too late to change or that your story is unchangeable, but life is not a straight line. It is a river that renews itself at every turn. This path begins now, with a single insight that will take less than 3 minutes to anchor in your heart. There is a type of exhaustion that sleep cannot cure. It is the weariness of carrying a version of yourself that no longer pulses, that no longer makes sense, yet you insist on sustaining it out of a fear of the void. Spirituality and self-knowledge are not about collecting new masks, but about having the courage to bury the old ones. Today, we will journey through the valleys of the soul, understanding why certain versions of ourselves must die so that the being may flourish. What if the discomfort you feel right now is actually the weight of the relics you still keep in your inner cell? And it is precisely in this silence that we perceive the weight of what we still carry, but which no longer has a heartbeat. For understand this: life cannot endure the accumulation of what is dead. Just as a seed must break open in the darkness of the earth to reach the light, our maturity demands a kind of internal farewell. Real maturity is not an addition of qualities, but a constant exercise in subtraction. For the tree to bear new fruit, the dry leaves must touch the ground. Often we call a crisis what is actually a calling to bury habits, vanities, and certainties that have lost their vitality. As nature teaches us, the darkness of the earth is not an end, but the womb where the seed breaks open to simply be. Staying faithful to what has already died inside you is a betrayal of your own life. The universe hears you when you finally accept that yesterday was just the wake of a boat that is now sailing in deeper waters. But why, even knowing the river flows, do we insist on anchoring to shores that have long been left behind? The answer lies in how we cling to who we were, turning our memories into an invisible cell. We stop walking because we fall in love with the relics of a story that time has already swept away. Often, what prevents us from moving forward isn't the unknown future, but the attachment to who we once were. We turn our memory into a spiritual cell, where we daily visit our own grave. We hold on to grudges, titles, and pain as if they were trophies, without realizing these inner relics prevent the birth of who we need to be now. Carl Jung reminded us that, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." Inner transformation requires you to let go of this invisible knot that binds your heart to what has already passed. What in you today is just an echo of a voice that no longer exists. This insistence on staying motionless, repeating the same cycles and the same pains, creates a deep noise in the soul. It is the silent despair of looking in the mirror and seeing only repetition, the inability to allow the new to finally dwell within our chest. How do we cross this fog and accept the invitation to true transformation? The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard spoke about the despair of not wanting to be oneself, but there is an equally deep despair, the inability to stop being the same. In a world surrounded by distractions, it is easy to lose ourselves on the surface, fleeing the silence that reveals our lack of vitality. Presence is the medicine for this stagnation. When you grow silent, you realize that life is a continuous flow, a river that meanders to teach you that rigidity is the path of pain, while fluidity is the path of the soul. You are not broken for feeling that everything has changed. You are in full transition. In this flow, we are faced with a radical choice. Will we continue chasing the shadows of others' expectations, or will we take the step toward our rawest essence? The pain we feel is often not a punishment, but the friction between the mask we wear and the truth trying to emerge from within. Living for appearances is chasing shadows of oneself. It is a performative existence that consumes our vital energy and pulls us away from the truth of being. The radical choice life proposes to us today is, will you continue feeding the image others expect, or will you have the courage to nourish the light that shines in the silence of your chest? All healing begins with the acceptance of what hurts. Recognizing your own shadow is not an act of self-punishment, but of integration. By illuminating what was hidden, you stop being a fragment and start being a whole. As the mage would say, the candle does not scream, it simply illuminates what the darkness tried to hide. And when we finally decide to be that light, the crossing becomes inevitable. It is no longer about fighting the world, but about silencing distractions to rediscover the being that was never lost. It is the return to the temple that lives in the silence of the heart, where the rhythm of the soul dictates the path. We have reached the point where memory stops being a cell and starts being soil. The crossing to the essential being requires us to leave on the shore everything that cannot pass through the narrow portal of the now. This is not a movement of effort, but of surrender. The awakening of consciousness happens in the gap between who you were and who you don't yet know you are. It is in the fertile void that the sacred manifests. Take a deep breath and feel it. The soul is not in a hurry. It has rhythm. You are exactly where you need to be to bloom. This journey doesn't end here. It simply becomes part of your breath. By recognizing that you are not broken, but in full transition, the fear of the void gives way to the peace of presence. And to anchor this perception, I invite you now to a small symbolic gesture. What if the pain you feel today is, in fact, the seed's shell breaking open so that you can finally touch the sun? Do not fear the silence that remains after burying what no longer serves you. This silence is not absence. It is presence without noise. Take 2 minutes after this video. Sit in silence and imagine you are handing over to the earth a single thing you carry that no longer has life. It could be a grudge, a title, or an old fear. Feel your hands grow light. Breathe in the freedom of no longer needing to be that person. If these words touched something inside you, perhaps it is time to take one more step on this path of reconnecting with your inner truth. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue receiving content that nourishes the soul with presence and authenticity. Share in the comments what resonated with your heart. Your story might be the mirror someone else needed to find. If you are looking for a safe haven, know that our community is the sanctuary where fertile silence is shared and deepened. And to continue expanding this field of presence, we suggest the video pinned in the card. May it be a source of inspiration on your journey. Peace and light.